Welcome to the Justice Journal podcast. I'm Sacramento County District Attorney Anne Marie Schubert. I hope you enjoy this podcast series where we discuss important public safety issues and provide insight into who we are as an office and what we do both in the courtroom and in the community to provide the highest level of public safety through prosecution, prevention, and innovation.
Thank you for listening to the Justice Journal podcast. Before starting this episode, we would like to apologize for the sound quality issues we were experiencing during the recording of this particular episode. Welcome to the Justice Journal podcast. I'm Chris Lewis. In past episodes, we talked about the District Attorney's Community and Government Relations Division, which works to increase and maximize the office's community engagement and outreach efforts through a number of education and prevention programs. The Community Prosecution Unit is part of this division, where prosecutors work in neighborhoods to create partnerships with residents, law enforcement, community groups, and businesses to proactively address quality of life issues and crimes. In this episode, we will focus on how our community prosecutors work with Sheriff's Department and the Stockton Boulevard Partnership to resolve and prevent crime. I'm joined by the Executive Director of the Stockton Boulevard Partnership, Frank Louie, Community Prosecutor Leslie Kolb, and Sacramento County Sheriff's Department Deputy Johnny Lee. Welcome, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Leslie, can you please introduce yourself and tell us about your role in the Community Prosecution Unit, which I will refer to as the CPU?
Sure. First of all, I have been a prosecutor for almost 30 years, which I have had a variety of different assignments throughout my career, from prosecuting narcotics offenses, prosecuting sexual assault and child abuse, to prosecuting gangs and gang homicides. So I think that all of my background has really prepared me to be a good community prosecutor because I've learned to work well with our partners. There's no one right solution for anything. So I think that my vast experience has really taught me that. And as my role as a community prosecutor, I really use that every day. It's the concept of bringing together whatever resources we can to fix whatever problem is out there. So that's kind of the fun part of the job, is you just never know what's the new problem going to pop up and what's the solution to that problem going to be. So I'm a community prosecutor that's assigned out into the South area. So all of South Sacramento, wherever the Sheriff's Department goes, is the area that we work with. And it's just good to be out there in the community and get to meet people and find out what their problems are and how we can impact their quality of life to try to make it better.
My name is Johnny Lee. I'm with the Sacramento County Sheriff's Department, assigned to the Problem-Oriented Policing Unit, which is called POP. And our goal is to resolve issues, nuisance issues in the neighborhood, in the community. And we kind of work hand in hand with our community leaders, business owners, DA, and code enforcement to, resolve ongoing issues. Being assigned to South Sacramento, actually, it was really heartwarming for me because I actually grew up in South Sacramento. I remember as a kid walking up and down Stockton Boulevard and then finally to hear it's Little Saigon. Growing up Vietnamese, it was really heartwarming for me to be assigned out there and to have this opportunity to work in the POP. It was actually my dream job to one day work as a POP officer to help my community that I grew up in. So,
yes, my name is Frank Louie, and I'm with the Stockton Boulevard Partnership. Prior to serving on the Stockton Boulevard Partnership, I ran a small business. My wife and I started a little restaurant in the corner of Broadway and Stockton Boulevard back in 1989, Louie's Restaurant. During those early years, we certainly encountered a lot of the challenges, being that we were one of the very first restaurants that located in a commercial corridor that folks had said that it was blighted, filled with crime, and because our background was my family had operated grocery stores in North Sacramento as well as Oak Park, that narrative didn't faze us one bit. And the fact that we became entrenched in the community, willing to partner with our neighborhood association, our law enforcement community, made it all the more positive. We certainly, during the course of 28 years, having close ties to the community served us well. An example was folks asked, knowing the negativities about the area, would always suggest, well, you know what, you're in an area that certainly has a lot of crime, and have you been robbed or have any actions of crime been activated against your business? We said, Never, because the fact that if you're really entrenched in the area, you know the fact that when people know that you are pretty well connected in the community as well as law enforcement, and that you're a homegrown business individual trying to, do something positive for the neighborhood, it's going to serve you well. And so transition from that role after 28 years, my wife told me that, hey, we raised you wonderful children. Now it's time to get on with the next stage of our lives. So for me, it was a natural progression that I took on this role of Stockton Boulevard Partnership. And the Stockton Boulevard Partnership, so what we are is we're a business property improvement district. So what we do is, as an assessment district, property owners along Stockton Boulevard, our assessment district runs from Stockton Boulevard south to 2nd Avenue, north to 2nd Avenue, and then south to 65th Street. So we roughly have about a 4.1 mile district. And so with that assessment that we receive from the property owners, we categorize them in the 4 areas that we utilize. Number 1 is we focus on safety and security. We focus on advocacy, economic development, and clean streets. So those are the areas that we apportion funding for. For me, it's just been a blessing to serve as the executive director, because these things are dear to me, all these issues that we face, and the fact that I'm more in tune with the businesses, because the issues that they face, I've been through it.
Frank, you touched on working with the law enforcement at the DA's office. How long has the Stockton Boulevard Partnership worked with the DA's office and law enforcement?
So Stockton Boulevard Partnership, we've been around since 2001. So for about 15 years ago, we started the SOS, which is Safety on Stockton Boulevard. And what that means is we have our monthly meetings. It's usually the first Thursday of each month, noontime, where we invite our law enforcement partners. That would be the county, the DA, county code enforcement, city police, city code enforcement. We also invite the CHP as well as the UC Davis Medical Center. We have our various neighborhood associations. So what we do is we have this once a month meeting to form kind of a platform as to discuss issues that impact our corridor. And at that time, residents speak the problems that they're having, whether it be in a particular area on our boulevard or issues that relate to businesses that aren't operating their business in a lawful fashion. And then we have at this meeting representatives from our law enforcement community that can help address some of these issues.
Leslie and John, how long have you worked with Frank in the partnership?
Well, I've worked there with them for about 1.5 years now. That's how long I've been assigned into the community prosecution unit. And I just really find that once a month we go to these meetings. And the beauty is at these meetings, you really get to hear from kind of the boots on the ground problems. So the community members or business members or other partners will bring up these different issues or properties or whatever needs to be addressed. And it's really a good place for us to get firsthand information about what we should be doing out there. There's hardly ever a Stockton meeting that I go to that I don't walk out of there with at least a partial project, if not a whole new project that I need to be working on with me or my partner that I'm out there in the South with.
And to piggyback off of Leslie, absolutely. The once a month meeting for me, working with Frank, probably about 2 years now when I with the homeless outreach team. But going to these meetings, it's very important because now, you're there to listen to the problems. Because for us law enforcement, some of these problems don't get reported and we don't see it, right? And if it doesn't get reported, we don't see it. So to come in, listen to the community, their concerns and their problems. Now I could take these problems and bring it back and share it with my colleague. And that way we could start investigating or find a resolution to the problem. So I think it's very important to attend these meetings. Absolutely.
Frank, what are some of the common problems the partnership has to address, and how are these issues brought to the partnership's attention?
So some of the common problems occur, whether it be we have theft in some of the stores. We also see an uptick in purse snatching along the corridor. So those are the things that are some of the hot items that, especially as the weather gets where people are out there shopping. So what we try to do is work with our law enforcement partners to see how we could kind of approach this in a holistic way, whether it be focusing on where these hotspots are happening, and that's where our community, our property owners, our business owners tell us these things, and they feel comfortable coming to the partnership and letting us know that the fact that these problems are occurring. So we'd like to share that intel with our law enforcement partners, and therefore they're really proactive in isolating these hotspots where these problems, these crimes are occurring.
This question is for all of you. Can you explain how you all currently work on these issues together?
Yeah, I can let you know that. I mean, the beauty of the way that we do it together is that we typically will go to this meeting, and at the meeting, there'll be some identified problem property on Stockton Boulevard. And there's a variety of different problems. It could be a business that's not, maintaining security or doing what they need to do. It could be a property that's vacant where homeless have done an encampment. It could be a property that there is a lot of prostitution or human trafficking going on that type of area. So the problem will get identified. And the beauty of it is we have all the players that we need at the table. So typically we will have code enforcement, whether it be city or county. We'll have law enforcement, city or county. We'll have the partnership contracts with Paladin Security. So we have the ability to utilize their resources to focus on a particular area. We have other community partners that are typically at the meeting, cash. So when we're talking about human trafficking, having them at the table is very helpful. We have drug and alcohol resources that are at the table. So we can really look around and think, okay, how are we going to fix this problem? And we've got the people there at the table that are vested in fixing the problem. So we can really just okay, you're going to do this, we're going to do this, we'll bring pressure over here, and we can work to really focus on it and get something accomplished, which is what's really great.
And if there's an area that it's a problem and a simple officer's present, it's already a key factor. And not even making contact yet, just having our presence there, the extra patrol, or we go out there and talk to business owners, you know what I mean? Because sometimes some of these business owners are afraid to approach these violators or the problems on their issue because of retaliation. So we get involved and we go and address with the owner and get their assistance by, issuing notice of trespassing, or even for me going up there and talking to the violator directly and see who's the players and see if there's any and why they're here. Why are you here? And there's got to be a good explanation of why you're here, even though it's open for the public. Why you're here 24/7. So again, working hand in hand with Frank and then with Leslie, it's awesome because we put our our mind together, head together, and try to find a solution.
Our property owners are the ones that really are the advocates that let us know that these are the problems that they'd like to see addressed. And the fact that when we have Leslie and John, then along with the city PD, that is a willing participant to help us resolve these issues, it's been a blessing. Leslie, when you guys identify there's a problematic business owner or property owner, don't you guys reach out to them first and then give us updates as to at our monthly meetings as to what you're kind of working on?
That's exactly right. I mean, it seems like if there's a problem property, my assumption has always been, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you guys have tried to handle it more informally. You've kind of talked to the property owners, hey, let's kind of work on this and done that, and gotten no response from that. Once we get involved and are looking at it, we're looking at it from a nuisance perspective. So a Penal Code 370 violation. And if that property is a nuisance and it's impacting the entire community, we then go directly to the property owner. Because what we find is once a property owner is getting a letter from the district attorney's office saying, okay, this is a problem and you could be criminally prosecuted, we have a tendency to get their attention a little bit better.
Absolutely.
And so when we bring them in and we sit down with them and we have a meeting with them and explain what the problem is, we always give them some solutions to the problem. These are ideas that you could do to improve your property and make it so it's not a nuisance. I think they're a lot more receptive to listening to those ideas. And then we always make sure that we continue to follow up and have follow-up meetings to see whether or not they're following through with those suggestions and whether or not those suggestions have addressed the problem and it's getting better, or do we need to now work on some other plan? So it's really a great way to be able to bring all of that in. And we typically bring code enforcement in with us as well to find out, does code enforcement have any information? Or the building department have any information about this business? So that we can kind of address it on a global basis again to make it so it's a better partner.
An example was, Leslie, when you guys worked on, I want to say, the Singh property, or one of the property owners that was problematic, and property owner that just allowed his property just to fall in despair. And you folks kind of wanted to, and I'm not sure if it was a justice for neighbors or something that would force the sale of that property.
That particular property has been a problem out there in the community for a long time. And it originally had a building on it, a dilapidated house that ended up burning down, and somebody actually died in that fire. I know that my predecessors had been working on that property before me, but we're still working on it to try and get the property owner to do what he needs to do. Code has been out there vigilantly. Our HOT team has gone out there repeatedly and cleared that property. We have done lots of things to try and get that property owner. At this point, I'm still working. The property owner owns about 12 other properties in our community. So I'm working on that property owner in terms of his overall criminal nuisance. But the county is actually going to be doing a tax sale on that property. So because the property owner is so delinquent in his taxes, and because of all the liens that code has put on it, there's going to be a tax sale on that particular property. One of the examples I was thinking of on the partnership that was actually started by a predecessor as well was a business that was there on the partnership in a strip mall. And so I know that my predecessor got to go and meet with the property owner. There was issues on the outside of the business that needed to be addressed in terms of part of what we like to do if there's a lot of homeless people or people hanging around is we go and we talk to them about your property. You got to cut down the bushes. You don't want to have places for them to hide. You want to raise up the trees. So it's just like, again, there's no hiding places. Lighting is really super important. Cameras are really important. There's a lot of external things that they can do on their businesses. Hiring internal security is another thing that helps. So I know that our partners in the sheriff's department will jump in and pay a little extra attention to that particular property. Well, any private security that the business owner hires gets up to speed on the problems and gets to know. I mean, because Johnny can talk to this, but they get to know these people out there. They have a tendency to stay in the same generic area. So you get to know them by name and where they hang out. Once the security gets up to speed, then that helps with that process as well. I know that business has been doing a lot better in terms of really being a good partner there on the boulevard and making sure that they aren't bringing additional nuisance issues and problematic areas to that partnership. It's another example of how we kind of work together.
Yeah, and anytime the sheriff's department have any operation on Stockton Boulevard or anything, prime example, human trafficking, the prostitution issue, every month when we have the meeting, and if we do an operation, we share that with them. We share them what we did and to help, because prostitution draws negative activity, and that's bad for business. I, especially if I had a business, don't want a prostitute standing in front of my business. It's no good. So we will address that issue, and if we do an operation, when we have the monthly meeting, we will bring that up and let them know this is what we did, how many arrests we made, and that way it brings a good feeling that we're doing this and helping the community out and business owners.
Just to follow up on what Johnny said, here at the District Attorney's Office, we have a program that's called a RESET program. And it is for women who have been arrested for prostitution. And it really is taking a longer term approach to it instead of just, we're going to put you on probation and put you in jail for a period of time, which obviously isn't going to change any behavior. We really put them in touch with CASH and other community organizations that try to change their lifestyle, to try to show them a better way to get out of that life and to really start valuing themselves. And they help them with housing, they help them with jobs, they help them with all sorts of other things. So we partner with them in terms of those women as well to try and make a difference in their lives.
I think one of the successes that we've had on Stockton Boulevard was the fact that we had this block by block program. So we identify a section of businesses that have a high call for service. And so we reach out to them and we sent out a survey. It says, hey, we received from law enforcement that your particular business along Stockton Boulevard, your strip mall, has a lot of calls for service, and we'd like to help you address some of it. And Lisa and myself, Lisa's our project manager on Stockton Boulevard, and we both took this training, the SEPTED training, which is crime prevention through environmental design. So we would go to the property owner and say, you know what, these are some of the things that you could do to abate criminal activity. For this particular business, you've got a lot of signs, coverage with all this advertisement. Remove that. That way, when law enforcement is going through your center, they could see through if there's any illegal activity anything that's going on in that building. And your bushes, the 3 to 5 rule. And so having them look at it, and it says lighting is very important. And by the way, we have a partner in SMUD that will provide a rebate for you if you participate in a lighting program, and this lighting will light up your parking lot to abate some of those dark areas, and it becomes a win-win situation where, the business owner puts up a small percentage, a little bit of money. SMUD, in return, will rebate them for getting a contractor out there and installing these high-powered sodium LED lights that really light up the property. And we did that for a property owner, and he saw his criminal activity really decrease, because criminals, they want to do all their illegal activity in the dark. But when you light up the property, it just becomes a place where they just move on. That's been one of our success stories on Stockton Boulevard, is the fact that we could certainly engage our business owners to let us go through it and do an evaluation on their property.
So another success that we've had out there is in really helping the business owners with the homeless population that will camp in front of their businesses. That's obviously a huge problem, because if you're going out to look to go to the grocery store or go buy some new shoes or run into the drugstore, you don't want to have to go past a homeless encampment that may make you feel uncomfortable or unsafe, not to mention the unsanitary conditions that are typically existing. So one of the programs that we have in the Community Prosecution Unit is called the Chronic Nuisance Offender Program, the CNOs. So in terms of the CNOs, how our program works is that if you are contacted and given a citation by law enforcement or Paladin Security or business for trespassing primarily, or a lot of times there's low-level drug offenses, being under the influence or having a pipe or different kind of paraphernalia, those are the kind of offenses that typically, historically, literally, by the time that law enforcement can drop those people off at the jail, the person is going to get back to Stockton Boulevard faster than law enforcement's going to get back to Stockton Boulevard because of the paperwork involved. So it's been a revolving door with nothing positive happening. So our office developed this program such that if this person is identified as a chronic nuisance offender, being one of those 10 contacts in a 12-month period of time, we've partnered with the jail as well as a public defender's office, so that that person now, instead of getting released, stays in jail. And so as a community prosecutor, when we have one of our CNOs in jail, our job is very much of a carrot stick situation. So it's kind of like you can either do 90 days in jail, in custody, or you can go to a program. So we will have people go in and assess them. Do they have drug problem, alcohol program? Is it a mental health issue? The mental health issue is still a little bit more difficult. We're working on that to try and strengthen that up. But we identify what their particular problem is and then try to identify at least a 90-day residential program that would address that issue. So we like to give them the opportunity to try and better themselves if they can. So we end up seeing these people, and they are all, again, they're creatures of habit, so they go back to the same place a lot of times. But to be able to at least give the business a break. If they're not successful in the program and they end up doing 90 days in custody, well, that's time that person's not in front of that business. Or, in fact, hopefully they go to the program and they utilize that and they get some help. We have to bring them through a couple of times. I mean, these CNOs are not a one and done kind of a fix. Hardly any of these chronic nuisance offenders who have been homeless for so long are going to have a magic wand waved over them in 90 days and all of a sudden they're going to be in housing and sober and productive. So we recognize the fact that it's going to take repeat trips through, but at least it's a program that we're trying to utilize to get those business owners out there on the boulevard relief from those people camped in front of their businesses. And we really get to work with the private security to do that, the business owners who issue the 602 trespasses, as well as law enforcement in terms of going out there and trying to deal with that issue. Obviously, it's a huge issue that's very problematic in our area, and we're just trying to do the best we can, cleaning up any bit that we can at a time. Yeah. So it's been successful, at least for those businesses, trying to get those people out of the front of their properties.
And to touch on the homeless, when I was part of the homeless outreach team for the sheriff's department, our goal was not just to go out and just hammer, enforcing the law aspect of it. It's more like providing service for them. And we will reach out to human assistance, get them a place to house them, from that, get them, food, a place to stay and all that stuff. So it's actually, the homeless outreach team it's an outstanding program that the sheriff's department have. And we work hand in hand with the DA and the community. So we try to, get them on the resource. And to be honest, some of these homeless folks are what we call service resistant. They don't want that kind of service. But I think for me, when I was part of the homeless outreach team, to go out and continue reaching out to this individual, I know there's potential in this individual, and keep making that contact with them, showing them that, hey, we're not out here just to jam you up, to take you to jail. I really want to help you. I really want to get you service. And in the other services, if there are, for veterans, we want to help them. There's veterans, there's places that, Veterans Affairs will help them find housing and everything. Our goal, we want to find a place for them to stay, because if they're on the roof, they're not on the street, out in the hot, the cold, this will give them a fresh mind, away from the drug activity, all the negativity, and they could, brighten up their future by, looking for a job, so.
Well, to make Leslie and Johnny's job easier, one of the things that we reached out to our law enforcement partners is how could we assist in providing assistance to our law enforcement partners. And we were told that, well, if we were able to mount additional pods on our major intersections, that would certainly be the big ask. And we are truly blessed that we have a property owner on Stockton Boulevard that sees the value of our law enforcement partners, as well as the partnership and what we're trying to accomplish here. So the ask was to secure additional pods on the major intersections on Stockton Boulevard. So as we go down Stockton Boulevard, we have additional pods, and these pods are police-operated devices, and they're license plate readers, image readers, and the whole message is do not commit crime on Stockton Boulevard, because Big Brother, we are watching. And so we are truly blessed to, have this collaboration with our law enforcement partners, as well as private-public partnership to, keep our Stockton Boulevard safer for all of us. So moving forward, this is something that we're going to really hit hard on, is to always reach out to our law enforcement partners on what we could do as private citizens, the partnership, to keep our corridor safer.
Just to follow up on that is so important. For law enforcement, having the tool of those pods up there to be able to get those license plate readers, that is phenomenal. And then couple that with what Frank was talking about previously, which is lighting the area. It's just like shady things happen in the dark. And so having it lit, having cameras, getting the word out to everybody who's out there that those things are going on the boulevard makes it so that is not a desirable place to go out there and do stuff that's not law enforcement friendly, doing things you're not supposed to do. So we just want to keep that up because I think that's a great partnership.
This question is for all of you. Are there any new trends in crime prevention, changes in businesses and how they operate, or any other aspects that have recently emerged along Stockton Boulevard? And how are you guys preparing to address them?
Well, as you know, in the media lately, there's been a focus on massage parlors. And Stockton Boulevard is not immune to it. We do have some massage parlors. Majority of them are legitimate. However, We are working with our community partners to come up with a solution where we will probably do a workshop that will focus on compliance issues and and maybe it could be a SEPTEC training on abating some of the illegal activity. But we're going to work with our community prosecutor, our law enforcement community to put forth a program where we will roll out shortly.
John?
One of the newest trends that's been going on, and you guys probably hear it on the news, is the illegal indoor marijuana grows that's affecting our community and our neighborhood. They will, take a regular house and convert gut the interior of the house and convert it all into indoor grows. And they're growing illegal, up to 500 to 2,000 marijuana plants. How does this play into the Stockton, the business and stuff? Because a lot of these guys will purchase business, they'll open business to launder the money through. So this is an ongoing issue, and we're fighting it daily. And so that's the new trend now going on. And we want to, ever since Prop 64 came out, some folks have not been educated on the new laws. So now we also do compliance check. So we go out there and educate folks. When they see us come knocking on their door, we know they're growing marijuana, we educate them. Because a lot of these folks really, they get, receive this information thinking that they could grow because it's legal now. No, it's illegal. You can't grow inside a house. It has to be in a locked shed or something secure, but they have to grow only a certain amount of plants. So they're getting information. We like to meet with them, and then we educate them on the compliance. And we say, hey, there's no law. You can grow X amount of plants, but you have to be in law. And we will come back and re-inspect the property. And 99% of them follow through. They go, thank you very much, officer. Thank you very much for not taking me to jail. And that's what we do. We go, look, we're not here to take you to jail. We want to educate you. So we continue to do that to educate the public on the proper way of growing marijuana, cultivating it. So that's the good thing. But then you have the bad guys who don't care. Some of them are not. There's no face to it. There's a name, but there's no face to it because a lot of these criminal activities, these guys are from another country, so they're coming in here purchasing homes, cash out, whatever they're doing, and they're converting the property to a grow house. And each house could produce a year 3 times. They can harvest it about 3 times. And if they harvest 3 times, they're looking about over $1 million that they're taking. Last year, the Sacramento Sheriff's Department, our central POP team, we executed 100 search warrants, and we confiscated their finance for over $1 million. And we took out probably over, I'm going to say, I think it was, I can't remember the number, but over $13 million worth of marijuana, illegal marijuana. So we're still doing it to provide, a quality of life for our communities.
One of the trends that I see us addressing isn't what I'd call a new trend, unfortunately, but it's certainly an explosive one, would be the issue of the homeless. And it's just epidemic at this point. And ever since the Boise decision came out, talking about the idea that homelessness is not a crime, therefore law enforcement cannot arrest somebody simply for being homeless or for staying on a public property, it really has hampered our ability to try and address this issue. I know that our community leaders are trying to address this situation. They're trying to figure out a solution, but so far it doesn't seem like there's been anything particularly that's going to solve this. So for us, it's just a huge unfortunate trend that's really heading in a bad direction. It seems like the population has exploded since I've been even out and being community prosecutor in the last year and a half. And so hopefully our leaders will be coming up with a solution and really trying to figure out something to address it. Because right now we're kind of all running around trying to do the best we can. But meanwhile, the mountain just grows bigger and it's just really frustrating. So hopefully that's a trend that we'll be able to turn around at some point.
Are there future projects or goals you all have for the partnership that you would like to implement or expand in the near future?
I'll start on that one. Sure. So what I'd like to do is to expand on ours. our block-by-block project. So when SHRA went away, Sacramento Housing Redevelopment, where there was no longer, prior when it was still in existence, there was a program where property owners could get facade improvement grants to help beautify their facade. When that went away, there was no funding. So a lot of these Stockton Boulevard is in an older corridor. So unfortunately, a lot of these buildings need a repair. So with our block-by-block project, if we're able to assist them to abate criminal activity through our SEPTED and leverage that with some funding from, we do have Stockton Boulevard has a community development corporation where we do have some funds to assist some of the low-hanging fruit that we can assist property owners to restripe their parking lot, make sure that their properties are ADA compliant. So that's something that I really want to expand on.
For me, the question of do I have future projects or goals, I'm just going to tell you the answer to that is yes. I absolutely do, because there's lots going on out there. And the beauty is that I don't know what those are yet. And I'm 100% open to whatever those are going to be, because that's the fun of being a community prosecutor is you don't know what one day to the next. So if you kind of go in from my perspective with a preset agenda of I'm going to go fix this, all of a sudden the problem's over there. And I don't need to be fixing what I thought needed to be the problem. I need to be fixing what Frank and the rest of the boulevard thinks is the problem. So for me, it's just exciting to know that there are a ton of projects out there, and my goal is to fix those projects, whatever shape or form or way they come to me. So I'm just open to that. So that's my future goal.
Is there anything else anyone would like to add that we haven't mentioned yet?
I guess the only thing I'd want to add is just thank you, Frank. Yeah. Thank you for being the president of the Stockton Boulevard Partnership. I think that you have set an environment there at that partnership that really is what it means. It brings all of us, it's a community that we're all free and open to express ideas, to talk openly about issues and problems. There's not ever going to be judgment or criticism, or things might get a little heated in there if we're not all agreeing on a particular issue. But everybody's coming to it with an attitude of respect and making the problem better. And that's the environment that comes from what you facilitated, and the partnership and the spirit of cooperation that you bring to that partnership every day. So I guess from my perspective, I just want to say thank you for that, because it's a great role model and it's a great example for other areas and other problematic parts of the county that we could be working on. So thanks.
I just want to thank John and Leslie. I mean, the fact that we could all sit at this table and openly discuss, our issues, and they've always been really receptive to, understanding that their roles in assisting us to make our corridors safer. So I want to first and foremost thank Leslie and John, as well as the DA, providing this forum to really solidify our partnership. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you to our guests today. And to learn more about Stockton Boulevard Partnership, please visit stocktonboulevardpartnership.org or their Facebook page at Stockton Boulevard Partnership. Join us for our next episode, where we will discuss the dangers our kids face on the internet and social media, and how to protect them from online child sexual predators. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. You can find all of the Justice Journal podcasts on our website at sacda.org, iTunes, Google Play, and YouTube.